On October 13th, 1972, Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571, also known as the Andes plane crash, went down in the Andes Mountains. The plane was carrying 45 people, mostly members of an amateur rugby team who were returning from a match in Chile. But when the team didn't arrive at their destination, their families reported them missing. And after an extensive search, it was discovered that the plane had crashed into a remote area of the Andes. Rescuers were shocked to find 33 survivors who had managed to escape the wreckage and make their way to a nearby mountain hut. But after a few days, it became clear that the survivors were in grave danger. They had almost no food or water, and the freezing temperatures were making it difficult for them to survive. And as time went on, the situation became increasingly desperate. The survivors began to weaken, and they knew that they needed to do something drastic to stay alive. In the end, they resorted to cannibalism, which is why some people believe that this group of athletes are the real-life Hannibal Lecters. So how did this happen? Well, after the crash, the survivors managed to gather some supplies from the wreckage and set up camp near the crash site. They rationed out the food they had found, but it quickly ran out and they were left with nothing to eat but the snow that they melted and drank. And as the weeks passed, the survivors began to weaken and some of them even started to lose their minds. One survivor later recounted what happened next. He said, "We had a vote, and it was decided that we would have to eat the dead. There was no other way. We were going to die anyway, so we might as well try to eat and see if we could prolong our lives that way." And so the survivors began to dig up the bodies of those who had died in the crash, and they ate their flesh. Some people saw this as a necessary evil, while others were horrified by what they were doing. But in the end, they all agreed that it was better to die trying to stay alive than to simply give up and die. But amazingly, not all of the survivors resorted to cannibalism. Several of them refused to eat the human flesh, and they survived on nothing but the snow. These people were hailed as heroes when they were rescued because they had managed to stay alive without eating the flesh of the dead. And after 72 days, rescuers were able to reach the survivors. But tragically, 12 of the 33 people had died during the ordeal. Of the 21 survivors, 16 were eventually able to make a full recovery, but several others suffered long-term health effects from their experience. One survivor lost an eye, another had to have both legs amputated below the knee, and several others suffered severe psychological problems. The story of the Andes plane crash is a truly remarkable one. It's a story of survival, of hope, but also of desperation and of the lengths that people will go to in order to stay alive. In the face of such a tragedy, we can only marvel at the strength and resilience of the human spirit. However, it has been suggested that the reason why some people survived while others didn't was because of their blood type. A survivor of the crash, Dr. Jacobo Holzman, believes that those who had type A blood were more likely to survive the ordeal. This is because type A blood contains a protein called A antigen, which can help the body to clot faster, and this could have given them an advantage when it came to surviving the crash and the subsequent ordeal. However, this is just a theory, and there is no scientific evidence to support it. Whatever the reason, the fact remains that some people survived the Andes plane crash, while others didn't, and those who survived will never forget their ordeal. If you want to learn more about the Andes plane crash, you can watch a documentary on it or read a book about it. There are also many articles about it online. So if you're interested in learning more about this amazing story, I encourage you to do so. You can also let us know your thoughts on the matter. Do you think that the survivors were right to resort to cannibalism in order to stay alive? Or do you think that they should have simply given up and died? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please like and share it with your friends and family. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an upload. We'll see you next time.